Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Kristen Brown, and I'm here to talk to you today about what people pleasing is. It's funny how we hear these words out in the world, but yet we're not really sure of the true definition. And sometimes when we Google this stuff, we'll get all kinds of definitions. So I'm hoping that the definition that I will share with you guys today is going to be the one that really hits, that really sinks into your heart and your spirit, so that you can decide whether you are a people pleaser or not. Chances are, if you're Googling this, you already suspect that you are. And first off, I want to let you know that if you discover that you are a people pleaser, this is not something to be ashamed about. This is not something to think you're fatally flawed and you can never come back from this, or there's going to be no recovery, because you sure as shoot can recover from this. I actually am a recovering people pleaser, which is why I titled my second book, The Recovering People Pleaser, a spiritual guide to reclaim your true worth and attract the love you deserve. Because I was a person who suffered through decades of dysfunctional, lopsided, oh my gosh, abusive, using types of relationships. And I couldn't take it anymore. Enough was enough. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I vowed to clear this out for good. And that's when I had my awakening. And that's when I was like, I've got to share this information to the world. So I would like to read to you guys an excerpt out of my second book, The Recovering People Pleaser, which, by the way, is due to be released anytime now in December of 2022. It was initially supposed to be released at the end of November 2022, but we ran into some unexpected delays, so it's just been pushed back a little bit. But I ain't fighting it, because the universe is always on time, so it'll be ready when it's ready. But in the meantime, I invite you guys, if this sounds like something that you want to read and is resonating with you, go jump over to my website at kristenbrown.org. Scroll down just a tad on the homepage, and you will find a box where you could fill in your email address, and I will send you a notification when the book is ready to be purchased. It will be available on all major book selling sites, including Amazon. So I wanted to start out this video today sharing with you guys an excerpt out of my book, because if you identify with the paragraphs that I'm about to read to you, then chances are you are a people pleaser. I see you, soul sibling. You're kind, loving, and loyal. You're an earth angel, a lover, and a giver. You're intelligent and successful in most areas of your life, with the exception of romantic and/or personal relationships. It hurts you to watch people hurt, and you do anything to never hurt another person. Your greatest desire is to love and to be loved. You're likely the listening ear everyone calls for help, and are willing to drop what you're doing when someone needs you. If you investigate deeper, you may have been a rescuer in some, if not all, of your relationships. You're likely empathic, and there's a good chance you're an HSP, highly sensitive person. You feel others' pain and are quick to form deep connections. You have no problem attracting friends and partners, yet some don't return the loyalty and love you give to them. They seem to take more than they give. You feel taken for granted, undervalued, and unappreciated. In some cases, you've been mentally, emotionally, or physically abused, or abandoned. You're confused why your loving heart rarely receives the nurturing it craves. If you speak up about your feelings, you're likely met with defense, lack of ownership, gaslighting, or abandonment. Or you're told they'll do better by you, but then nothing changes. You've lost yourself in most of your relationships and have become a shell of who you once were. You say love or loyalty keeps you in the relationships, but you're not sure that's true anymore. It almost feels like an unexplainable, invisible force is holding you there, even though logic is telling you something is not right. I see you, beloved soul sibling, because I was you. If you can identify with that passage, chances are that you are a people pleaser. In fact, many people who have read that, who have identified it, has messaged me straight away and said that those couple of paragraphs brought tears to their eyes, because they had never been seen and understood so well. So if that is you, I would love if you drop into comments and let me know. Give me a little hands up or a heart or something and say, I identify with that. Because people pleasing is a plague on this planet. It is something that many, many, many of us deal with, because it is rooted in unworthiness. And I want to explain to you exactly what people pleasing is, how it comes into place, and what we can do to shift away from it. It is not something that is here for the rest of your life. It is quite literally just some biological programming that is going on in your mind that you can actually change. So the reason why we become people pleasers. I've mentioned this on many of my videos, but I will say it again, that as we're coming up through life and as our brain starts to move into higher brainwave states, we start to awaken into our outer world. And while we start to become aware of our environment, we start to take in messages from the outside world. And these messages can tell us things like, we're not enough, we're too much, there's something wrong with us. Why aren't you like this? You should be like that, or be afraid of this, or don't like whatever. You get what I'm saying. We all have these messages that come from our external environment. A lot of people want to blame the parents for this. And although sometimes our parents, have contributed to that, it's important to know that it doesn't just only come from parenting. This can come from any sort of information that we take in from the outside world. It can be our friends, it can be our religions, it can be social media, it can be, the list goes on and on and on. It can also be just part of our own mechanism, because as our ego starts to form, we start to compare ourselves with the outside world, and we make judgments about whether we are enough or we're not enough, or if someone is actually better than us. So what happens is that this drains our worthiness cup, this internal worthiness cup that we have inside of us. And we believe that we now have to get from the outside world what we believe the outside world took from us. Okay. But the outside world didn't actually take that from us, because our worth is unmovable. Because we are whole and perfect divine sparks of God. We are created exactly how we're supposed to be. And there is no one else that ever walked this earth before us, or who is going to walk this earth after us, that is who we are. This is who we are. And we are perfectly and divinely made. But we have decided somewhere along the line that there is something wrong with us. So what do? We start to scan our environments for places or behaviors that we have, or things that somebody kind of gives us a little bit of approval about. And then we tend to exploit that a little bit more. And that typically becomes the masks we wear. One of the masks that I wore was funny girl, because I noticed that when I was silly and funny in grade school, that people would give me attention, or they'd look in my direction, they'd laugh. So I thought, oh, if I'm funny a lot of the time, then I can get love, approval, and acceptance. So that was one of the masks I wore, that I thought I had to be that. Your mask can be anything from intellectual person, sporty person, the quiet one, the fun one, the creative one, the sexy one. I mean, these masks can span just multitudes and multitudes of identities, okay, because they're all unique and individual to us. And then we tend to wear those masks in order to get approval. But what happens when those masks don't work all the time? Okay, we don't always get approval, or maybe though some people look at those masks and those masks start to become annoying or something, which chances are they can be, because we will over exploit that part of ourselves. And then people are like, they can sense that. And they're like, what's up with her? What's up with him? Okay. So what also happens is that we believe that we have to shift and morph and change and evolve and accommodate and overgive and do everything, say all kinds of yeses to all kinds of people, to all kinds of things, in order to be liked. And in doing that, we are losing touch with our authentic self. We have actually stepped away from our authentic self to be what we believe the world wants us to be. This, my friends, is people pleasing. And there's a little caveat in here, because as I mentioned in those paragraphs that I read to you from the Recovering People Pleaser, the caveat is that many times we are naturally lovers, givers, earth angels. We are the people that really have big, juicy hearts and want to help other people. So it can become confusing, because we're like, well, wait a minute, I like helping other people, so how can that be wrong? Here's the only thing you need to know when it comes to this. Are you helping and giving because you're trying to get some type of hidden approval or affection or attention? Or are you giving to other people so that you can be liked? And are you giving at the expense of your own well-being. Those are the 3 ways that we can tell if we are people-pleasing. Because if you're saying yes to any one of those questions, chances are that you are overgiving and over-accommodating, and you are hurting yourself. You are moving further and further and further away from yourself. And here's the caveat. Here's another caveat. Here's something that happens that's not great, is that the more that we move away from ourselves, the more that we move into our people-pleasingdom, where we are just going above and beyond for people all the time. And we're like, here, take. No, 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 I want you to have it. Go, go, go. And then we sit here, and at some point we're like, we're kind of in this desolate desert by ourselves where no one's caring about us. And we're starting to feel a little resentful, and we're starting to feel bitter, and we're starting to feel like we need something more, or that there's something missing. And then we might mention it to people, and some people might be like, oh yeah, oh gosh, I'm sorry. And they might step up because they value you in their life and they want to please you. But then there's other people that are like, and they're going to turn that around on you. They're going to gaslight you. They're going to manipulate you. They're going to try to make you feel like you're crazy or you're selfish or there's something wrong with you. And those are typically the narcissists and the overtakers. And the problem is that the overtakers and the overgivers are a key to a lock. Believe it or not, that is the same vibrational frequency. We come together like a key to a lock. And then we're in this situation where we're not getting our needs met. We're feeling drained. We're feeling overpowered. We're feeling like we've lost who we are. And we don't know how to get it back. And in fact, the longer we stay in that relationship, the lower that we sink down. And sometimes we may even up our people pleasing because we're like, we blame ourselves that this person isn't happy. So if I just keep quiet, or I just do this a little better, or I just accommodate more over here, and we're even moving further and fracturing ourselves even more. So we can understand how all of this comes into place. The what and the why of people pleasing, the how to fix it makes sense. The how to fix it is to return back to that authentic self. Stop believing that you need to get love, approval, acceptance, validation, everything from the outside world and attention from the outside world. What you need to do is start giving those things to you. When you start to give those things to you, plus the self-love tenets that I'll share with you in a second, once you start to give those things to you, what happens is that you heal the foundation, the biological wiring rewires, and you start to organically show up in life a different way. The 5 tenets of self-love are grace and forgiveness of self, respect and protection of self, compassion and acceptance of self, positive and supportive self-talk, and self-care. What is it that you need? When we stop looking into this outside world to get those things for us, and we start instead to give it to ourselves, we heal that foundation that we are showing up to relationships. And guess what happens? No, we don't overcompensate and become selfish, which is one of the major fears of people pleasers. I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be selfish. You don't be selfish. You don't turn into a selfish person or a narcissist. That came into place for a completely different reason. Okay. They became that way. That is their dysfunctional relationship pattern. That became that way because something else. What you're doing is you're going to heal your people pleasing, which by the way, is on a spectrum. Okay. Because a lot of people are like, they don't think they're people pleasers. After I talk to them for 10 minutes, they're like, oh my God, I guess I am, because they have somewhat of a good sense of self, or at least they speak up for themselves, but yet they do find themselves folding or shifting and morphing or trying to be something or wearing a mask. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess I am, because we're on a spectrum. Okay. You don't have to be like a over the top stage 5 clinger, to be a people pleaser. It can be just over here where you say yes more than you mean it. Okay. You might mean no, and you're just like, yes. And then you're like, God, I wish I didn't have to go to that holiday party, instead of really, truly honoring what it is that you need. Okay. So we're on a spectrum, but what we're trying to do is trying to get back somewhere towards the center. And what this is the middle between people pleasing and narcissism. The middle Okay. Over here, we do the over giving and tending to all the needs of everybody else at the expense of our own well-being. Okay. Over here in narcissism, we do the overtaking and we attend to the needs of ourself at the expense of everybody's well-being. So what we're looking for as a recovering people pleaser is to move closer towards the center. And in this space, we are in what's called interdependence. And I will tell you, when you apply the 5 tenets of self-love and you start to make yourself a priority and give to yourself the things that you were trying to get from the outside world, which by the way, never works because it's like an empty, I call it the insatiable beast in my first book, where we're trying to get these things from the outside world and it just, they never stick. Like we'll get approval for a minute and we're like, yay, they like us. And then 10 minutes later, they do something like, oh God, they hate me again, right? Have you ever had that seesaw going on? I certainly have. And it was like, it was this insatiable beast. But here's what happened. When I healed myself from the inside out, when I healed myself on a foundational level where I gave myself the love, approval, acceptance, and validation and attention that I needed, I organically changed. And guess what happened? My yeses and nos became easy. My boundaries became easier. And I stopped attracting the takers. I was no longer a vibrational match to their frequency. So I hope you guys got a lot from this episode today. This is a topic that is literally the reason why I do what I do, why I set course to become an author and a teacher and a mentor, and broke through a massive fear of public speaking to be able to share this stuff with you, because I am that lover and giver and earth angel, and I don't like to see people suffering. So please know that on the other side of this is healing, and within that healing is your best life ever. And I believe with 100% certainty, no matter what your background is, no matter what you've been through, that you can have the life that you love, that you can attract and create everything that you have been longing for. All right, you guys, I super hope that if you're new here, that you subscribe and turn on notifications. And don't forget to comment. Everybody comment below. Let me know if that paragraph, those couple of paragraphs that I read to you in the beginning, if you identify with that. Give me a fat thumbs up and share with someone that you think might benefit from this broadcast today. All right, you guys, until next time, remember, you matter. Now go love yourself.